fantasy draft analyst for the all-knowing Pro Football Focus, ladies and gentlemen, co-host of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast, Trevor Sikkema. Great name, great guy, great list of these quarterbacks that we're going to dig into. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Appreciate you having me.
Good. I'm glad you're doing fantastic. And now we're just going to pick you apart. Now, I actually really like your list. Everybody should go over to PFF and check it out. It's a quick, easy read, and it gets you it's a good scene setter for as we get through OTAs and head into the great abyss before training camp starts. It'll really get you set on the right direction. Nothing crazily controversial. I liked it, especially tier 1, which is labeled simply Mahomes. So before you hit publish, I got to ask you, which quarterback were you most finicky with? Who were you moving in the ranking in your process the most?
Ooh, okay. This is a good question. I think 2 immediately come to mind. Jordan Love being at number 11, right outside of the top 10, but more importantly, to start what is tier 4. I labeled this tier 4 as this like melting pot of starters because it's like Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Geno Smith. Like they're all in this group where you can make plenty of arguments for their strengths, but also for each of them, there are little deficiencies or little reasons to doubt them that you say, okay, well, does this mean more than this when you compare it to the other player? And so it's just a massive tier in the middle. And Jordan Love is the one that I feel like I went back and forth a lot on because how Jordan Love ended 2023 was incredible. I mean, from week 8 on, he had an elite PFF passing grade. He had 27 big time throws, only 10 turnover worthy plays. I mean, it was one of the best stretches of any of those quarterbacks. And so I was wondering, should I put him in that tier above, that next tier of guys who I think are quality, high caliber, future postseason run type of quarterbacks. And I think Love can certainly be that, but I put that line right between him and then CJ Stroud, who I had at number 10. That was one that I thought about a lot. And then, of course, me putting a rookie in Caleb Williams, who has not played it down in the NFL yet, at number 19. It got people riled up a little bit, especially when it was above certain quarterbacks that their team has on their organization. So having Caleb Williams at number 19, just because he hasn't played it down yet, I think those are the 2 that I really thought about the most and probably labored over the most.
I should have had the list sent to me. Sorry, I have to look at it because who did you have? Who did you have Caleb over, and what was your reasoning?
So I had Caleb over, like Baker Mayfield was right after him at 20. Derek Carr's at 21, Russell Wilson's at 22, Deshaun Watson's at 23. And then we get into another tier of like a lot of younger guys. And the reason why I had Caleb above some of those veterans is because those names that I listed, they're guys that have proven they can win in this league, but they've also kind of proven that they can lose in this league as well. They're very hot and cold. They're up and down type of quarterbacks. And so when I looked at Caleb Williams, there was 2 ways that I could do this list, right? I could just put all the rookie quarterbacks at the very end and say, hey, Caleb is 28 because he hasn't played it down yet. But to me, that's disingenuous of the exercise. If I'm ranking quarterbacks going into the year, I'm going to put Caleb Williams over the guys that I think he's going to play better than. And that included some of those quarterbacks that, again, they're veterans. We've seen them do it before. They're just very hot and cold, whether it was last year or throughout their entire career. So yes, Caleb Williams is going to go through those hot and cold up and downs as well, but he's number 1 overall pick for a reason. And I'm a draft guy. So I talk about how great he's going to be for the Chicago Bears. Again, it would be disingenuous of me to just put him at the end of this list because he's a rookie. I think that number 19, right at the end of the top 20, I think that's that's the right spot for him.
I just feel like Derek Carr, I get inconsistent. He might play the same. Russell Wilson might not even have the job. I get it coming off last year. Deshaun Watson can't stay healthy, hasn't done it. Anthony Richardson coming off an injury. I would probably put Anthony Richardson maybe above Caleb Williams. I just think he had it before the injury and now he's back. And so I think that. And then I'm very curious. Aren't you a Bucks fan?
My Twitter handle is Tampa Bay Trey. So yes, you're right. I am from Tampa, and you don't have to remind me. My friends in Tampa.
You're judging Baker off of like what he did before. He just got paid because he is the guy. What is holding you back from thinking that Baker can follow up on what he did last year?
it was still the up and down of last season, right? I think that there were stretches where Baker was awesome, right? You go into the game where he goes into Green Bay, a game that they really needed, and not just has a great performance, almost a perfect performance. I think he had a perfect passer rating during that game in Green Bay, which is unbelievable. But then you have to take also the other games into account. The week after, they play the New Orleans Saints at home. They have a chance to win the division and lock it down. He doesn't have a good performance. Then the week after that, they're playing the Carolina Panthers. They're the worst team in the NFL. They go on the road. This should be easy. And it was anything but easy. And so it's just, I think that Baker, re-signing Baker was absolutely the right move for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to make. But when you look at his interceptions and touchdowns, and when you look at his big time throws and his turnover worthy plays, they're close to even. And that just speaks to kind of the up and down that Baker has been. Now, can he obviously get more consistent this upcoming year? Absolutely he can. But again, new offensive coordinator coming in. That's a little bit of an unknown as well. You have to throw that in because David Canales isn't there too. So trust me. Trust me, Bucs fans have absolutely let me know that they are not happy with a rookie being above them. But Caleb Williams being as talented he is.
Fans should just be embracing you and saying, you think Baker's great. You just know that Caleb's going to be that much better. That's the way I'm choosing to look at it. But we have to move on because the show sort of, I want to get through a couple more things here, including the Goff hate that I know that you're getting because, I'm looking, we looked at the highest contracts when Jared Goff got his payday. The rest of the guys are in tier 2 and 3. You've got Jared at 16.
Yes. I have Jared Goff at number 16. And yes, Lions fans have not been happy with me, despite the fact that I gave them the best offseason grade of any team in the NFL. I'm just going to, defend myself a little bit there and make sure that they remember that part. But look, when I look at Jared Goff, I don't mean to take anything away from him. He's in a really great system. He's got a good offensive coordinator, but he is still playing really, really well. And when you look at his numbers versus the last couple of years that he has been in Detroit, his numbers this past year were the best since he has been traded from the Los Angeles Rams. However, when you look at big time throws and turnover worthy plays, two stats that we really love to lean on here at PFF, the big time throw rate was just 3.4% for Jared Goff. That was 31st in the NFL. And the turnover worthy play rate, although it was low, I think it was 2.4%, that was only 14th best in the NFL. So him being at 16, I'm not trying to necessarily take away anything from him and the success that he's had, but it's still relatively low when it comes to these higher output throws, these bigger time throws, and these more contextualized stats. So if you were to take Jared Goff and take him off the Lions and put him in another individual situation, as we would say, like in baseball, wins above replacement. If you put him on an average team all around, how much is he elevating the rest of that group? And for Jared Goff, I think he's wonderful for Detroit and can absolutely be a Super Bowl winning quarterback for Detroit in this situation. But individually, him stacked up against some of these other quarterbacks, there's a lot of statistics that point to the fact that I'm pretty comfortable having him at 16 on this list.
Minutes from going to the Super Bowl.
I know.
In the NFL, in passing, went to the NFC title game. So I'm a little confused. I understand where Detroit fans are getting it from. Who deserves the most credit for Detroit's success?
Ben Johnson's doing an incredible job. I think certainly Dan Campbell and the way that both him and Brad Holmes, I think would probably be the two that I would credit the most because they have set up an unbelievable culture in that room where you have so much success. There are so many places that you can point success on that team. The elevation of the secondary, what Aiden Hutchinson and that defensive line have become, the all-out effort that they play with, how they play as such a team in one unit, what Amon-Ra St. Brown has become, what that offensive line has been, the weapons that they've gotten in the backfield. Like there are so much there that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, they have their fingerprints all over the roster. And so to me, they are the catalyst for putting together an unbelievable group that the sum of their parts is a Super Bowl worthy team and one that I think can get over the hump and to the Super Bowl this year and perhaps even capture that Lombardi trophy. Yes, even with Jared Goff as the quarterback, I fully still believe that.
I mean, he left McVay and had success. I feel like this is an outrage. I think, he goes to Detroit to all places. It's happening again, and you're putting it on the coaches. I feel like you've got a little something against Jared Goff. I'm just going to put out there. No, I want to wrap with this. With something I liked more than everything else is the Joe Burrow of it all. Because I'm seeing lists everywhere, leaving this man off of them, not in the top 10 of quarterbacks all of a sudden. Like, nobody cares. You have him at 3, right behind Mahomes, right behind Lamar Jackson. I'm curious, do you feel like you're higher on him than other people? Are we forgetting about him? And then with him against Lamar, what was the conversation in your head of who to put where?
Yeah, I think that I am probably higher on Joe Burrow than other people just because there's so many elite arm talents that are around him, right? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, obviously Patrick Mahomes, but you can bring in guys like, CJ Stroud and Matthew Stafford, guys who might have bigger arms than Joe Burrow does. But I have so much faith when Joe Burrow is fully healthy and when he is commanding the pocket, when he is the guy in the huddle leading those players. Like, I have so much faith that the ball is going to go exactly where it needs to, exactly when it needs to get there. And the last 2 seasons in which he was fully healthy, elite PFF passing grades in both of those seasons, over 5% big time throw percentage, which would have been top 15, top 10 in the NFL this year. And on top of that, a very low turnover worthy play percentage. So he's not only pushing the ball far in top 10 numbers in a lot of those categories, but he's also taking care of it. He's top 10, top 5 when it comes to avoiding negatives as well. So Joe Burrow, between the ears, I just think that he is absolutely elite and one of the best in the NFL, and he should still get recognized as that.
I love that. I love that you have him at 3. Everybody go check it out at pff.com. I know I asked you some tough questions, but it's all in good fun. And you were objective, very objective. And I really like your blurbs. You're a great writer. I don't know if you wrote those or you told them something. I loved that. And it's a nice, quick, easy read, just as your podcast is an easy listening. So everybody go check out NFL Exchange and get smarter on a Thursday. Thanks, Trevor.
Appreciate it, Kay.